everyone, and welcome back to the Naturally Beautiful and Optimal Wellness Summit. My name is Elizabeth Engen. I am your host, and we are brought to you today by Empower You, Jenny Halligan, products that synergistically give your body premium nutrition. We have an amazing guest today. Welcome, Dr. Derek Anderson. He's a chiropractor in Minnetonka, Minnesota. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth.
And Derek and I know each other personally from a business group, and he's an amazing chiropractor. I'm so excited to talk to him and learn from him today. So Dr. Derek, can you start us out with telling us, what does optimal wellness mean to you?
Well, thanks again, Elizabeth. I think optimal wellness, I think, is different for every single person. But particularly for me, when we talk about health and wellness in my practice, it really just comes down to you being as healthy as you possibly can in as many aspects as you can. When it comes to eating right, taking the correct supplements each day for your body, exercising, and then just moving and making the healthiest choices you can.
And I love that your practice, Dr. Derek, is a big part of it is the rehabilitation part of it. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's probably a lot of people out here who will listen to this, and they've probably been to a lot of different chiropractors. Maybe some have incorporated this, maybe some haven't. But one thing that we really specialize in is not only the treatment of the spine and the nervous system to allow for the body to reach its full potential, but what we also do is a set of rehabilitation courses and exercises with our patients. So not only do we help to stabilize and get the nervous system functioning how it should, but we also make sure that we strengthen that area of the spine to make sure it stays there. And our bodies are made so much for movement, and we need movement in them, and to keep our muscles, our ligaments, the soft tissue stronger in there. And so not only do we incorporate the chiropractic side of it, but we also bring more of the rehabilitation to allow for people to not only get better faster, but it allows them to stay better longer and be healthier.
Awesome. Awesome. Can you tell us what some common challenges or mindset issues of some people that come to see you that are interested in chiropractic care?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we see from people, and one of the, I guess, the big myths out there with chiropractic is that it's only related for pain. And so when people seek out chiropractors in general, it's because they're having some sort of symptom, whether it be neck pain, headaches, lower back pain, shoulder issues, all of those things. But chiropractic is so much more than that. There's such a broad variety of issues and symptoms that we treat besides just musculoskeletal pain. Now, obviously, that's one of the biggest components of it, but there are so many different aspects. We as chiropractors, that people think of us as spine doctors, which is, I mean, that's a fair assessment. We do treat the spine, but one of the biggest things is I consider as a chiropractor is we are nervous system doctors. We actually help your nervous system function to the way it needs to. And what most people know about the body is your nervous system controls everything. And so, you have nerve innervations that go to your stomach, to your liver, to your pancreas, to your kidneys, and that's how your brain communicates with those different parts of your body. And so if there's interference that's blocking that message from your brain down to, say, your stomach, for example, that's going to cause you to not digest your food properly. It can cause the stomach to have ulcers in different areas and just cause stress to that area of the nervous system. And so as a chiropractor, what we do is we help to release that interference from the nervous system so that communication is going back and forth in a fluid motion.
I'm writing this down. Even though I know a lot about chiropractic care, this is really fascinating. So tell us a little bit. So something you just said, I wanted you to talk about nutrition, but I had the thought that when you were talking about the interference, do you feel like maybe food is not absorbed fully due to this interference as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the big things that we talk about with any of our patients as they come in here, regardless of what they're coming in here for, is we talk about the nutrition element with every single person, because nutrition and the foods that we eat and the supplements that we take, or for most people, the lack thereof of the supplements that they take, controls a big part in the stress in their body. It increases a lot of the inflammation. A lot of the foods that we eat today and consume when you go out to eat, or even when you go to the grocery store, a lot of the processed foods that we have these days, they actually are pro-inflammation. So they increase your inflammation levels in your body. And inflammation, you can go back and look at a lot of the research that's been out there over the past 5-10 years. And inflammation is a huge driving force for the amount of and the increase in the disease that we have in our country, and not just our country, but the world that we have today. And so when you're, going back to your original question, when the nervous system isn't being, functioning correctly to your stomach, or say to your small and your large intestine, it's not going to allow you to absorb the nutrients that you need from the food.
Wow, very eye-opening. So talk about, I know you do some talks or educate people about decreasing their stress levels and how to handle stress. Can you give us some tips or some things that you normally talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the talks that we do out in our community it's called the 5 steps to stress-free life. This talk is a very popular one that we have when we go into businesses, because you can go into a class of 30 to 100 people and ask them to raise your hand who in their life has stress. Everyone's going to raise their hand. It's all over. And so it's something that 100% of the people in this country deal with on a daily basis. And so I go, the first 15, 20 minutes of the presentation is just helping people realize what actually happens chemically within their body during a stress. And there's a lot difference between the physical stress and emotional stress or mental stress that they're having. But some of the big easy things that people can try to do and change in their life is, step one is just having a positive mindset. Making sure that you're understanding where that stress is coming from, because a lot of people, they have anxiety and they stress out, but they don't even know where the trigger is. And so one thing is just making sure you understand where is that coming from, and then understanding, is this something I can control? There's a big thing I tell a lot of my patients is like, the 90-10 rule is a huge aspect of something I talk about with my patients. And it's like 90% of the things that happen to us are out of our control. We have no control over it. The 10% is the amount that you can control, is how you respond to that stress. People stress out about things that are happening a week or a month in advance. Well, it's like you can't do anything about the future. All you can do is control the present. And so controlling the attitude that you have and the mindset that you have, and making that, spinning that into a positive mind frame, makes a huge difference in just the chemicals and the hormones that are released when you have positive thoughts versus when you have negative thoughts. And then the second aspect comes back to movement, and that's just, it's exercise. It's making sure that even if you are someone who does not exercise, if you can just get out there and start having 30 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes of brisk walking a day has been shown to reduce cardiac, our heart disease by up to like 60% in people. Just small amounts that you don't have to join a gym and all of a sudden have to start going 6 days a week, and doing these rigorous workouts. That stuff is good for you, but if you're someone who's kind of, hesitant to do that, or you're nervous to go back into the gym because you're not really sure what you're doing, start off with just walking, just a brisk walk, 30 minutes a day, and it helps to lower so many of these different health diseases that we're coming across in the country today. And then, if you want me to go more into that, another one is obviously the spinal component of it. And this is something obviously is very passionate for me to talk about, is knowing that, stress, when you are stressed out, it does have an effect physically on your body through the amount of adrenaline that's being released into your system, which goes then into cortisol, and that result into your body, which, most, women and males will realize the result of cortisol is going to, one, make you overeat and make you stress eat, but two, cortisol, when it's not used appropriately in your body, it actually stores as fat. And that's why people start to get, they start to have more fat tissue in certain areas, like around the lower part of their belly, up into their chin and their face. That, so when people who are overstressed, they tend to have some of those different issues that are going on. And it's usually due to the hormone response that they have. And so when you can help to realign your spine and allow your nervous system to function appropriately, that's going to take stress off your spine and your soft tissue, and you won't have some of the issues that people deal with on a daily basis.
Okay, so that's 3. Could you give us the 2 more?
The nutrition's the other one. It's talking about, not only just making sure you're eating healthy, and I think the one thing I see from most people who come into my office and they talk about going on these diets or, the new diet trends or fads that are coming in, I try to steer them away from using that word. And the reason is because when you use the word diet, it means there's an end to it. And when it comes to healthy eating, there should be no end. It's a lifestyle change. And people, they can do really, really good for 3 or 4 or 5 days. And then what happens is they end up getting invited out to dinner with their friends. They go out and they eat an unhealthy meal. And then all of a sudden the next day they just go, well, I already ate unhealthy yesterday, so I might as well just do it again today. It's like, well, that you can change your mindset with that and say, hey, you can still go out. You can still go out and have maybe an unhealthy meal or something that you really, really enjoy, like pizza or pasta or whatever. But then it's like after that meal, just refocus and center yourself and say, okay, next meal, I'm going to make it another healthy one, and just start to move forward. I mean, people kind of get stuck in that all or none kind of. It should be a pendulum. It's like you do really, really good, and then okay, I had a cheat meal, and then you get back to doing really well. That nutrition that you have that comes in there, it plays a huge role into the way that your body is functioning, and to the way mentally how you're feeling. And so eating properly is really good, and then making sure you take the right supplements. There's a huge disconnect between the public and what you should be taking, and there's so many different areas that people think like, oh, I have to be on an iron supplement, and I have to be on a calcium supplement and multivitamin and all this different stuff. It's like, well, no, you don't have to be. So I always kind of to recenter and refocus my patients and say there's 4 major things that everybody should be on, because we're not getting enough of this in their diets. It's like you want to be taking a multivitamin, and you can replace a multivitamin just by eating very, very healthy. But like I go back to what I said before, the stuff that we eat in the grocery stores, even the produce that we buy, is not as mineral or dense or nutrient dense as it was 50 years ago. So we have to supplement a lot of this stuff. So a multivitamin is a great thing to have. Omega-3 fish oils are huge, huge. They're great for anti-inflammatory responses. It's making sure your inflammation is down. The third one, and this one's kind of the hot one that a lot of people have been talking about over the 5 years, is vitamin D. They have done a lot of different research over vitamin D and how it affects your immune function, how it affects your muscle tissue, a lot of different things from those aspects. Your bone health is very important with vitamin D. And then the fourth one that I talk to people about is a good probiotic. And a good probiotic is just good bacteria that filters into your intestines and helps you break down food. One thing that a lot of people are on now is doctors are giving out antibiotics to pretty much anyone who comes in and they're sick. Well, those antibiotics, though they are good when needed, and they'll help to fight off any bacterial infections you have, they also eliminate the good bacteria in your gut. And the gut controls 75 to 80% of your immune function. And so what you want to do if you are having to take a course of antibiotics, is make sure you're taking a probiotic with it, or upping your dose of probiotics too, so you can replace that good bacteria. And that's what helps to take all the nutrients from the food, and your body absorbs it.
Do you have a recommendation, Dr. Derek, about the probiotics? How often, how frequently, whenever I've taken them, it's after you said after taking antibiotics, but should a person go on a course every 60 days, every 90 days? What do you recommend?
Every day. Every day you should be taking probiotics. And it's different for different kinds. And so, I mean, you have to kind of read the labels and the recommendations on there. Some want you taking it twice a day. Some of them you just need to take once a day. You know, I usually tell people if you're just starting on a course of probiotics, start taking them twice a day. But after like the first month, you can usually bring that down to about once a day of taking a probiotic. And then obviously if you do have, you know, you are starting to take antibiotics or something, if you have to take a course of those for a couple weeks, just up your dosage. So if you are taking one, make sure you're taking 2 every day.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes back to, I mean, your body's going to filter all this stuff out, you know, and so like you need to keep taking this stuff to bring it in and make sure your body's using it, you know, not just all at once, but throughout the day, it's getting these courses of nutrients that it needs or probiotics that it needs.
Do you find, Dr. Derek, if someone is taking other prescription medications, that the probiotics help to ensure better wellness for them?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, any kind of medication that you're taking, it's going to affect your body in different ways, and you're going to have side effects. I mean, there's a lot that they found a lot with opioid use, and they've even created another drug for people to take when they are having to take chronic opioid use, because it starts to block their system. And so a lot of people become constipated from opioids. So now what the pharmaceutical companies have done is they've created a opioid related constipation drug that other people can take, so that when they've been taking these opioids and they get constipated, they can take this new drug that helps to alleviate some of the constipation. So now you get someone who's now not only just taking one thing, but they're taking 2 drugs for, you know, one issue that they're having.
Okay, now I'm feeling a little bit dumb here. What is opioid?
Opioids are what people take for chronic pain. Yeah, so I mean, it's any sort of like pain killing drug. You know, a lot of them have opioids in them, and so it helps to kind of relax your body and you know, take care of the pain. Which obviously for me, if you're having pain, I would you know, encourage you to see a chiropractor to help naturally alleviate that instead of taking the medication. But there are certain times when that stuff is needed.
Absolutely. And I personally know people that have seen Dr. Derek while they've been in pain, and he's really, really helped them. So absolutely, he's very, very gifted. Now, Dr. Derek, was nutrition and supplements 2 separate things of the 5-step process that you were talking about?
No, that's all just one.
Okay, yeah. So you have number 5 still.
No, number 5 is to get good sleep. You know, okay. and so I talked to them about getting, you know, making, and everyone's different with this. Some people require more sleep. Some people require less sleep. So you kind of have to find what works best for you. But to make sure you're getting good restful sleep. And so, I mean, obviously the average, you know, most people we say is get between 7 and 8 hours. Now, again, there are some people that they need 9 to 10 hours in order to feel like they can function well. But there's others, unfortunately, like myself, who I really only need 5 to 6 hours of sleep to really feel rested and energized and feel good. I try to go on that 6 end, you know, 6 hours of sleep each night. But some nights, you know, and some mornings, it's, you know, you only get 4 or 5. But making sure you're taking the right steps to getting good rest. Make sure you have a good pillow that's providing good support for your neck. You have a good mattress that's providing good support for the rest of your spine. And one thing is just teaching some patients, and I know this is very, very hard from my own personal experience, but making sure that you're not sleeping on your stomach. Sleeping on your stomach is a very tough way for your spine to sit and for your body to have, because if you lay down on your stomach, you have to turn your head to one side for those 7 to 8 hours, and that starts to create a lot of issues within the neck, as well as the curvature in your low back starts to lose its curvature from laying on your stomach. And so we always recommend sleeping on your side is one of the best ways to do it, or sleeping on your back is another way as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. You did that very, very, very quickly. How long are your talks typically that you about the 5 steps to stress?
They're usually about 45 minutes long. Yeah. And because, I mean, those the 5 steps to it is at the end. The first like 15 minutes or so, that is a lot of why we have stress and hormonally what stress does to your body. I mean, it's amazing to really think about. Your body goes through the same stress response, whether you're in a physical stressful state or whether you're in an emotional or mental stressful state. So, you think of back in, the way back prehistoric days, most of the stresses that people had were physical stresses. Like it's like you're being attacked by a lion or a tiger or something like that. I use those references a lot in my talk. So that you come into that fight or flight response. And so you're either going to stay and fight or you're going to run. I mean, I particularly with any of those animals, I would probably run. But so your body goes through this natural response where adrenaline and cortisol, like I said before, is released into your system. Well, that same response happens if you're sitting at your desk at a computer and your boss just emails you and says, hey, we need this report done by 5 p.m. today, and you haven't even started it yet. Like that same response, you're going to go through that. Now, the reasons for adrenaline and cortisol to come into your system is because it's going to shunt all the blood and make you more alert, and it's going to shunt that blood to your muscles to get you ready to fight or flight, fight or leave. Well, then once that adrenaline leaves, the cortisol comes in to replenish your body with what it needs to replenish those muscles, from being fatigued and tired. Well, again, that's great if you're running from an attacker or from a predator. But if you've been sitting on your butt at a desk the whole time, all of a sudden that cortisol has nowhere to go. And that's where you start to build the fat deposits in those different areas, as well as that's when people start to get hungry for no reason. People talk about that stress eating. Like when I get stressed, I eat. I always tell them, this isn't necessarily your fault. Like, so don't be so hard on yourself. It's chemically your body's telling you you need to replace this energy that you didn't technically lose.
And is that's why movement is so important? Does that help alleviate some of the cortisol?
It does. I mean, it does. But the main reason why movement is important is because our bodies were meant to move. Through evolution and all this stuff, our bodies are required for movement. We are not meant to sit in front of computers and sit at desks all day long. And so this is a very general thing I'm talking with a lot of my patients about is saying, like, get up every 15, 20 minutes and move around. If you have an opportunity to get a sit and stand desk, get one of those so that you can sit for 20, 30 minutes and then raise your desk up and stand for that time. But it's the premise behind the entire point of chiropractic too, is you have your shoulders and your elbows and your hips, which are called voluntarily movable joints. So you can tell your arm to lift up. You can move your shoulders and move, these different areas of your body. But the joints in between your spine, those are involuntary movable joints. And so we can't tell specific vertebrae in our spine to move one way or the other. And that's where chiropractors interject with that and allow for the adjustments to create movement in there. And if the movement stops and the joint gets stuck, inflammation is going to attack that area, and prolonged inflammation occurs with arthritis. And that's why people start to have degeneration within their discs or within the joints, as well as they start to have arthritis or bone spurring that starts to develop within their spine, is because of the lack of movement within the joints there.
You're summarizing so well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell me, I know that you work with weight loss. Can you just give a brief synopsis of kind of what you do with someone that would come in and want assistance with that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have some different nutritional products that are all completely 100% natural that allow for your body to either burn fat quicker, and also allow for people to just get to more fiber into their system, get some more anti-inflammatory responses going on. And that's going to help you. It's going to help curb your appetite a little bit so people aren't overeating. But also it's going to help so that when you are active and you're working out or you have an active job and you're working, it's going to allow for you to, instead of just taking the blood sugar that you're utilizing for energy, it's going to actually help you burn fat over everything else. And so we have that nutritional component to it. But ideally, what I really focus people on is starting to eat healthier and bringing them into a system like we talked about before, a lifestyle change, and showing them just how easy it is to meal prep and to eat every 2 to 3 hours to keep your metabolism and your blood sugar at a constant level, instead of having huge spikes and drop-offs in the blood sugar. And so it just helps to start people getting on that right track. And then after the first 7 to 10 days of that detox or that cleanse, then we start to get them back into the exercise component. And that's where I really talk to them about, like, what exercises are you doing? Because a lot of people, when they're trying to lose weight, their initial response is, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go on the treadmill for 30 or 40 minutes, or I'm going to go on the elliptical for 40 minutes. And that's the exercise. But that's just one component. It's a cardio component, which is great. But I said, if you really want to maximize your weight loss and your movements there, you want to make sure that you're building muscle, because your muscle burns more fat than fat does. And your muscle also weighs more than fat. And so I tell them, if you can start off by getting into a very low intensity muscle strengthening routine, it's actually going to build muscle. And I tell them, don't look at the scale, because you're not going to be pleased with what it looks like, because your weight's either going to stay the same or it's possibly going to go up. Because as you build that muscle, your weight's going to increase. But ideally, what a lot of people are looking for weight loss for is they want to look better. That it's more of that cosmetic change. And so I tell them, like, after that first 10 days or so, and you start exercising, and maybe your weight's going to kind of stabilize here, it's like, but feel how much better your jeans fit when you go in there. Look in the mirror and look how much better you look, how much more toned down you look. I go, that's what you're looking for. And that muscle is going to, the more muscle that you have built in, then you can start getting into the cardio aspect. And when you start doing the cardio aspect, that's going to burn a lot more fat off than if you don't have a lot of muscle tone in there to start off with.
Great. That sounds really, really great. So please tell us, Dr. Derek, can you think of 1 or 2 patients that you have treated or worked with that really stand out, that you really made a difference for?
One that always comes to mind, she's been a patient of mine for about 4 years now, and she's the most fantastic person. She's a local music teacher for our elementary school that's really close to my clinic. And when she came into my office 4 years ago, she was really struggling with her weight. She was struggling with neck and upper back pain. But one of the biggest things was her energy levels. Her energy levels were really low. And she started seeing us in, I think it was probably like December or January. And being a teacher, she was telling me that, at the end of the year in May, she was probably going to retire. She was just tired. Her body ached. She just thought it was ready for her to retire. So we started seeing her, and after the course of about 2 or 3 months of treatment, she lost about 15 pounds, just because after we got her out of that initial pain symptom, like that crisis phase, she was able to start going to the gym again. I gave her some recommendations on weight loss and some different things, and she ended up losing about 15 to 20 pounds in that time frame. Well, when April and May started to come around, I asked her, I said, getting ready for retirement? And she said, actually, you know what? I actually decided to continue to teach, because she goes, I just feel so much better than I did before, that she's like, I want to keep teaching. And it's something I'm passionate about, and I feel like I have the energy to keep doing that. And she still comes in to see me every 2 weeks for her regular adjustment. And she just told me about a month ago that this is the year that she's going to retire. But she said, it's on my terms this time. It's not on my body's terms. She goes, I just feel like I'm ready to be done now. She goes, before when I said I wanted to retire, it's because I didn't think I could handle it anymore. And so I just think it's really cool to, even just for the kids around the area of my clinic who she teaches, to give 3 or 4 more years of service to those kids and teaching them. That was something that I was super, super proud of, and something that made me really happy.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then the last one, I think we were talking a little bit about how chiropractic helps with digestion and how that works in your body. And this was a while ago when I was back out in California treating. And I had a lady come in who she had no pain, she had no symptoms. The only thing is she has very, very bad constipation. I mean, she would go weeks, to 10 days at a time without having, a bowel movement, or a full bowel movement, I should say. And so she came in with no pain or symptoms, and she just said, I heard this chiropractic could possibly work for me. And so we took a look at her spine, evaluated it, found some definite areas down in the areas where the nerve exits out of the spine and goes to your small and your large intestine. And sure enough, she had a curvature in that area of her spine. And so I told her, this is definitely an area that we can help with. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start you off with a couple weeks, get this thing moving. And if we see some good results, we'll continue moving forward. And if we don't, we'll kind of reevaluate and see if there's another area that we have to look into. And so she said, yep, let's try it. Let's see what happens. So I adjusted her, that first day, asked her how she felt. She's like, well, I don't really feel any different, but I wasn't having pain before. And so I said, okay, come back in tomorrow and let's check to see how the adjustment held for you. And she called the office probably about 45 minutes later. And so the office manager gave me the phone and I was talking to her. And first I was a little bit nervous because I thought maybe she had, the adjustment had kind of hurt her or something, or she was feeling kind of goofy. But the excitement in her voice, she was like, okay, I don't know what you did to me, but I couldn't even make it home. I had to stop at the grocery store and use their bathroom because she goes, I had to go so bad. She's like, whatever you did, it worked, and I will see you tomorrow. And so that was another really, really cool story. Most people don't get that immediate of results because sometimes it takes a while to get the body moving in the direction that you need it to. But that was another really cool story that I enjoyed, and to see that immediate relief for someone.
Well, that is amazing. I don't think I've ever heard that chiropractic care helps with constipation, but that's wonderful. So we are all out of time now, Dr. Derek. Please, I'd like to hear about how we can find you. I'm sure you have some social media accounts, but if somebody wants to work with you or just wants more information, even if they're not here in Minnetonka or close by, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have most social media sites. We have our clinic page. We do some really great stuff on there, from different healthy recipes that you can do, different exercises and stretches that you can help with. Health Source of Minnetonka is what the name of my clinic is. And so if you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of those, you can just search Health Source of Minnetonka, and we should pop right up there. So you like our page, and you can look at some of the different things. If you want to get a hold of me personally, I'm available. You can email me. My email is danderson@healthsourcechiro.com. So again, it's D as in Derek, and then Anderson, S-O-N at the end there, and then it's at healthsourcechiro, CHIRO.com.
Awesome. So your website is, I'm just guessing, is it www, go ahead, tell us.
healthsourceofminnetonka.com.
Excellent. And if someone wants to make an appointment, can they do that on your website, or do they call?
Yep, they can do either or. They can go right onto the website, healthsourceofminnetonka.com, and just choose the site to make an appointment, and it'll kind of prompt them to give some information, and then they can choose the time that works best within our schedule. Otherwise, if they want to call our office, we're more than happy to accommodate them and find a time that works for them. The number for our office is 952-746-1506.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you again so much, Dr. Derek. If all of you loved the information that Dr. Derek provided for you, please subscribe to the channel. We have 21 experts here talking about our summit, Naturally Beautiful and Optimal Wellness. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.